Good day, everybody. I am back on Elderscrolls Online on the PTS in Clockwork City inside the Asylum. This is the new trial that's coming with Clockwork City. And today I just kind of wanted to go over some changes with the Master and Maelstrom weapon and show the Asylum weapons that are going to be coming with this new trial. So first of all, real quick, the changes to the Maelstrom and the Master weapons is pretty simple. So as you can see here, the effect of the Maelstrom staff, and the same goes for the Master's staff, the special effect that they do has changed from being an enchantment to being a one-item set effect. As you can see here now, I have the Maelstrom lightning staff, and the one that I show in my inventory originally comes with a shock enchantment now instead of the effect enchantment, which is now listed at the bottom for the crushing wall set. And I am now able to change the enchantment to whatever I want, so it will not ruin the enchantment of the Maelstrom staff. And the same goes with the Master staff. So now they are set items, not an enchantment. And that was the major change, and I think that's a good change. I think now with the addition of the transmutation system and the change to the Maelstrom and Master staffs, this might incentivize me a little bit more to actually try to go get one of these. Okay, moving on to the Asylum weapons. If you do the trial and you defeat St. Olms, you will get an Imperfect Asylum weapon. In normal mode, it will be blue, and in veteran mode, it will be purple. The same will happen if you defeat St. Olms and just one of his allies being one of the other two saints. You will get the same quality of weapon. You'll still get an imperfect weapon with the same qualities. Plus you'll get some jewelry and maybe an armor piece or so. If you defeat St. Olms with both of the other two bosses in the room, and you defeat all of them, on normal mode you will receive a normal quality Asylum weapon. So you don't get the perfected weapon for doing this in normal mode. You will get a perfected weapon for defeating all three bosses in veteran mode. The hardest mode possible for this trial. That's the only way you get perfected. So what I wanted to do, and first of all, before I look at these item pieces, I want to again make the disclaimer that this is public test server. Things can change before live. Things could change next Monday when they do the next patch. So the effect and everything could change. I already know from watching the live stream yesterday that the lightning staff will change. So I'm not going to try to keep up with that. We could discuss it once it goes live. But right now I want to go over the basic idea for these. And what I really want to show is difference between a perfected and imperfect. So right now I have a lightning staff. In my inventory I have the imperfect one, and I have equipped the perfected lightning staff. As you can see in the set item bonus area, the only difference between the two is a 1 second difference on the cooldown for the perfected. So the perfected can happen every 4 seconds, and the imperfect can happen every 5 seconds. So for the lightning staff, 1 second of status effect difference. So that for this weapon, that may not be much of a difference. It may not be worth going for the perfected. However, if you look at, so this is the one-handed, let me get the Asylum axe up. I'll equip one of those so I can look at them side by side here. So in my inventory is the Imperfect Asylum axe, the one-handed axe. As you can see, in the bottom screen, when you deal damage with the whirlwind, you get 8 seconds of your active twin slash, lacerate, and blade cloak overtime effects. This effect can occur once per cast of those abilities. On the perfected axe, the time that those abilities are up is increased to 10 seconds. So from 8 to 10 seconds. That's a nice little buff on those. So what I'm seeing here is that there may be, it depends on the weapon as to whether or not the perfected is going to be better than the imperfected. The battle axe, in the imperfect state, which is in my inventory here, when you deal damage with reverse slash, you generate up to 14 ultimate based on how much execute bonus damage it dealt. And the perfected axe adds 1 more ultimate generation. So there may not be much of a difference for that one. Okay, looking at the Asylum Bow. When you deal damage, this is the imperfect one. When you deal damage with arrow spray, you cause enemies hit to take 45% more damage from the direct damage portion of your next snipe, scatter shot, or poison arrow used within 5 seconds. Now, I do see a difference on the bow, which is a pretty big difference. It's a little bit more of a difference than all of the other ones that I can tell. When you deal damage with the perfected bow, you cause enemies hit to take 50% more damage in comparison to the 45%. Now, a percentage increase is much stronger than I think than a 1 point increase on something else, or 1 point decrease on time, or 1 point increase on ultimate generation. So I think that the bow buff is quite significant. So the bow in the perfected bow might be worth going for. Okay, the Asylum Sword. So this would be the one-handed, not from the one-handed skill, not the dual wield. So the Asylum Sword is part of the defensive position set, and it requires 2 items. It will be used with the shield. I'll show you the shield in a moment. The enchantment is that when you reflect or absorb a spell projectile with defensive posture, you restore 1,818 magicka. If defending posture expires without reflecting or absorbing a spell projectile, you restore 4,545 magicka instead. That's the imperfect numbers. And on the perfected side, you actually get a little bit more. So for you'll get a restore 2,000 or 5,000 magicka depending on your stance. So it seems okay, you know, it's okay. Let me go ahead and put on the shield. They're this part of the same set, so I just wanted to show it with the shield on. All right, so there you go. There it is with the 2 set items on. And so for this one, this is the sword and board buff, so you're gonna have to use the 2 item piece for this one. And you know, I think probably the 2, anything that will give you more resources is probably the better one to go for. So that's my opinion on that one. Okay, so the Asylum Restoration Staff, when you cast Blessing of Protection, the cost of your next Grand Healing, Regeneration, or Steadfast Ward used within 5 seconds is reduced by 45%. And the Perfected Restoration Staff, the only change is that the cost is reduced by 50%. So again, on this one, we are talking percentage, and percentage is a bigger buff than 1 point. So I think for Restoration Staff, if you really like this set item, then the Perfected would be the way to go. So to me, anyway, any of these weapons where the buff is a percentage buff, difference between Imperfect and Perfect, it's probably going to be a stronger weapon. But on the other ones, like we've seen before, there's only one difference. So I think those are probably okay to just use the... You don't have to go through the hard mode to get it. It's up to you. Also, like I said, these effects can change. I already know the lightning staff is changing. That there's a change coming to the lightning staff. So there may be changes coming to the other weapon sets too. So anyway, these can change. Things can change a lot before live. In fact, even between the last PTS and live, there can be a big change. But I just wanted to show those off. Some of them look pretty good. I think the bow one looks pretty good. The bow's been kind of a weak, you know, a lot of people like the bow. I certainly carry a bow on my stamina guys, so it is definitely a weapon that I use all the time. And so having something to come into the trial and get, and I like the fact that this is going to be 100% drop if you kill the final boss. 100% drop. And again, with the addition of the transmutation system, we can change the trait. So it's not even going to be an issue with that. And now we can enchant it the way we want. So I like the changes to the trial weapons. So I hope you do too. Anyway, that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.